What if AI could help your business go global overnight without losing the human touch that makes your brand unique? Today on Strategy Talks, I'm joined by Alexander Murauski, CEO of Alconost, to explore how smart AI powered localization is reshaping how companies enter new markets. If you're curious about scaling globally with both speed and precision, this conversation is for you. This is Strategy Talks. Stay with us. I will be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. My name is Doreen, and we are live with another episode of Strategy Talks. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching this on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or Facebook, let us know in the comments where you're watching. We would love to know. I'm here with a guest from Lithuania. If you just watch the intro, you see we have international strategic thinkers, and here is another one. I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest in just a minute. But before I do, I want to welcome those who listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast. I want to make sure that you feel welcomed as well. So without much further ado, right here is my new friend, Alexander. Alex, how are you today?
Doing great. And you, Doreen?
I am good. So we were in the green room. We were in the wrong green room. This is how live things happen, guys. We were in the wrong green room. We're trying to go live, and I realized we're in a studio where I only can record. So we are just a few minutes late, but we are here live. Alexander, let's set the stage. What does your company do? Your company is called Alconost, and I was totally intrigued when I found out about what you do. And so I want our viewers, if you're a founder, if you work anywhere in the world, if you're thinking about scaling your business globally, you might need a business like Alconost. So if you want to just kind of share a little bit what you do to set the stage about this conversation we're having today.
Well, at Alconost, we help companies translate their content into different languages. For example, we are translating to 120 languages. Those are network of native speakers living in their respective countries, and they are native speaker of their languages, professional linguists helping us to deliver quality in translation for our clients. Our clients are mostly software development companies, SaaS, game developers, app developers, e-learning, e-commerce marketers, product managers. Lots of that's a diverse. And they come to us usually when they want to go globally to translate their content, and we give them platforms, the setups, the building pipelines, how to do that right. We give consultations, and of course, we deliver the actual translation and also quality testing. So it is called, the term in the industry is localization services provider. We help companies translate everything.
Yeah. So,
that's
let's talk about the obvious thing. With AI that's out there, anybody can translate anything, but it's not as simple as that, right? I just heard you say, working with native speakers. For those that are listening that might have, a second language or a third language, we understand there's cultural references, and it's really important that you don't just literally translate things. I'm a native Dutch speaker, and I've lived in the US for 37 years. There's still references to, cultural things or, expressions that just don't translate. So it's not just about translating something in a word, but it also, it's also the nuance of that, right? And especially if you're playing a game or it's an app, you need to make sure that you understand the cultural piece. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. translation is not enough. So just the translation.
Yeah.
When we translate games, for example, we gather the linguists, a team of linguists that are dedicated to the game. They play it. They understand how it all works there in the game. They gain that feeling, that vibe of the game. We technically, we usually start with style guides and briefs, asking the client about the product. But if we're talking about the game, we gather a team of linguists that are players, and they know the game, and they are native speakers of their language, and they're gamers, and so they play game, and by playing, they just contribute to the development of the game by translating it. One could invent crowdsourced translations. For example, game developers are very they invent things. They like to invent things, different spreadsheets, and asking players to translate. And the problem with players translating is that they become lazy at some point of time, because translating is a work. It's a hard work. They might be translating 20% of the game for fun, and then when the deadline comes for a next release, they have no motivation. This is the story of Minecraft translation, for example. That was totally crowdsourced. But if you see the progress of that crowdsourced translations, you will see that it's translated 80%, 50% for different languages, and only 20%. So to do the localization professionally, you need a team that you would pay money, and they would just deliver 100%. The quality of the translation begins starts with the developer, who does the internationalization. So this means that the game will be localizable, and then technically there must be a pipeline, of proper pipeline of translation built using some localization platform that will gather all the content there, and the translators would come there and translate and then test. So it's about building the infrastructure and the team to deliver quality. So it's not just translation, but it's part of your team. I would say in this way.
That makes sense. And when you think about a game, a website, e-learning, there's lots of updates. So, and that's kind of what you were hinting at, right? It's even if you do, if you get somebody on your team that speaks the language natively and can help with that, it's the continuing updates. If you don't have a system in place, you're constantly behind the ball. But when you have a team, when you have a system, when you have this whole other platform where you're building that, then anytime there's an update, it automatically updates into that new language. So you said 120 languages. That's basically any language that we would be familiar with, right? That's pretty incredible. So let's go to like early planning, right? So you highlighted that localization is part of product design. Can you kind of shared a time where early localization planning, well, no, you shared a time when no planning it was bad, right? Using the users. But what about, can you share a time when early localization planning uncovered either a cultural or user experience blind spot that your product team hadn't anticipated? So when you do this early on.
Proper localization starts, as I said, with the developer when they start with internationalization, which is just a technical term for enabling your app to support the languages technically. So if you plan to localize into hieroglyphic languages like Chinese or Japanese, you would use different fonts for those languages, different font sizes. This is just an example. And also the date and time formats. For different languages, it's absolutely different for different locales. So when you start the development of something, of some software, if you start with 2 languages right away, one, for example, your native, and one is maybe imaginary or another, I just don't know, just make it English and some other language.
Yeah.
If you start with 2 languages, then it's 90% that you have solved all the internationalization issues, because supporting 2 languages is the same technically as supporting 20 languages. So the quality of localization starts with implementing 2 languages. You can do it from scratch, and this ensures you that you will have this language selector, that your resource strings will be separated from the code. So they are extracted and can be localized. You will support all the going further. You will need a localized localized payment process if you sell something. Sure. You will implement switching the languages and using placeholders in the resource strings. So not concatenating strings, because in different languages it will cause you problems.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. We've got Kevin here. He's watching on LinkedIn. He said it's interesting. I thought that was interesting too, that it's kind of like your brain. When you learn a second language as a child, it leaves all the pathways open. That's all the latest research to learn a third, a fourth, a fifth language. So that makes total sense to me, that if you do that in the beginning, that you then have that set up. And I love that example of the date. I grew up in Europe. And so we put the day and then the month and then the year. To me, that makes total sense. In America, you put the month, the day, and then the year, and it just, throws you off. But that is a prime example probably of why you need to set it up that way. That's very interesting. Yeah.
All those inches and centimeters, or dozens, or some different kind of things. If we go by the plan of localizing, so the second step would be selecting a strategy, so a tool first. So you need a platform to organize this, because if you have just one file containing your localizable content, you will be sending it to the translator in some way, by email or in a spreadsheet. If you have 20 languages, then it's 20 spreadsheets, and that's not working very well. So to organize this, you need some platform. And another very good step to quality translation of any product is organizing it, is using some localization platform. There are lots of platforms in the world. We have some recommended ones. I can recommend on LinkedIn lately.
Yes, we're definitely want people to follow you on LinkedIn. Kevin just said he's going to share the live to his network, which is awesome, which is really great. So let's bring AI into this. So say somebody wants to go global. They didn't quite set it up right, but they're like, oh, everything is in English. Let's just use AI to translate. What can go wrong? Alexander, what can go wrong?
Everything can go wrong. So it's right? So imagine you have localized. You have already 2 languages. Technically, you are ready for localization, and you have a platform. You set up your pipeline where the translators are translating, and you get your localized resources. You build your app in different languages. Everything works, and you want to scale and say. And you think so the translation by a human professional linguist might be quite expensive, especially when you have large amounts of content, like if you're doing a blog posting or some frequent newsletters. You do some performance marketing in 20 languages, and that's a lot of money. You just pay for people's work, they translate, and you pay a lot. And one day, a beautiful idea comes to your mind, is how we can cut the pricing by using just, like 5 years ago, it was neural machine translation, NMT. So it was Google Translate. It was translating quite quite fair quality for some use cases. So for technical documentation, it could work. Now it's a term that is called Gen AI translation. So people just got those LLMs and asked them to do the translation, and it really translates, and it really does translate in a very good quality. And now this AI and LLMs are a major disruption of the localization industry. So the industry is changing. And what the localization services provider like us, what we do is we implement the human in the loop pipelines. So that LLM is good at translating, and we have someone, a professional linguist, who is in the culture, who understand to check everything, to approve everything. So the translators, they become more like readers, but not writers. 5 years ago, they might be writing some translations using their keyboard, and now they are just reading, and it's not 90% cheaper. It's only 2 times cheaper, because you write as fast as you think and as you read sometimes.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So, you need translator needs the time to read, to understand the cultural appropriateness, and to approve this. So it's also some mental work involved. And now this AI translation is a tool for translators. If you have a platform, you have your files, and you have your linguists, you can just exchange one of your linguists to a Gen AI. So ChatGPT, for example, or Claude, or Mistral, or some Qwen, or DeepSeek, whatever. The modern platforms allow doing this already. They implemented those workflows, so you can do in two phases. So not the translator translates, but the LLM translates, and then there is a proofreader. So
Right.
The modern approach would be this, and this is so the machine translation works quite fast. You can get your translations overnight. They will be 90% of quality, but then in 2 days there will be translator coming and proofreading everything and just fixing some issues. But you will have it's very agile. It just supports this agile paradigm of software development. You have your result 100% ready, maybe with issues, but it's ready.
It's ready.
Just
and
overnight.
I love that you mentioned agile. I'm an agile marketer, so I love that. All these different iterations. I know in the
That's the
software.
term.
Yeah, so that's awesome. We've got Dion asking, do you have any experience adding new languages? So what's that process like? I guess that makes sense. You have 120. So what if there's a language that you haven't added? I guess your company has been in business. I was reading up on it since 2004. I'm assuming you didn't start with 120 languages, did you?
Absolutely, yes.
You did? You started with 120?
No.
No.
No. So speaking about the company, we have 4 people dedicated to just one type of work. They are called vendor managers. They communicate to the linguists all over the world, and they test them, they select them, they read through hundreds of resumes, they go to LinkedIn to source. That's a kind of recruiting, eternal cycle of recruiting. So they source linguists, they test them with test assignments. Sometimes we pay, sometimes not. But yes, it's a good question how we started. Now we have language leads for every language. And when we hire a new translator, we can check the quality because we already have the linguist that we trust. And from the very beginning, you don't have such linguists. So what we did was cross-checking. That's an obvious idea that when you just start to work with like 5 linguists, and they do test translations, we pay them, and then we pay for that they check each other. They check each other, and we have a translation quality index. They just that's a simple table where you just have weights for the euros. You just count the euro types, and you have the quality index. And if it's like not 97% that then you failed. This is the process. And recently, what we've done recently is we employed LLMs to assess the quality of translations. So if you get test translation assignment and you have the results, you can run it through the LLM and asking, so please assess the quality by, there is a very big prompt there, but it really does the assessment. There are of course, some mistakes, but generally it gives you an idea that this translation is bad, absolutely. So you're 90% sure that it's bad. So no humans will further touch it. There are lots of translators in the world. They call themselves translators, but they're not. They are just want to be translators, students. The quality is poor, and they send us their test assignments, and it just time-consuming to check them all.
Right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that process with us today, because that's a piece of trust, right? You're the CEO of this company. People come to you, spend a lot of money on your platform, on your tool to do this process in their business when they're ready to scale. And so this trust lies in you doing all this training on them and making sure that quality control piece is on you, right? So the translators are right. So I have a kind of a follow-up question on that. So the global user experience trade-offs, you talked about the global user experience, like changing the date formats, or, maybe even images, which we didn't really talk about yet, but, images are important too. If you're, if you're releasing an app in Japan versus England or versus Lithuania, the images might look different, especially if it's images of people. So
absolutely.
How do you advise clients on making like tough decision trade-offs, like early in that product development, like you really should do at least 2 languages, or this is the time to do it? How do you advise people? And, let's talk about images, how important that is as well.
Yeah, absolutely important. Absolutely, and images and colors, and if you have some flags in your apps, that's another thing. And if you have people's images in the apps, so this also does matter a lot. The localization, if it's some commercially like reasonable thing, starts not just with translation and with some decision, well, let's translate our app into 20 languages. The first thing is how would you promote it? How will you promote it? What's your plan regarding marketing? And it starts with the marketing capabilities of a firm wanting to promote the app. It's more or less easy for game developers, because they have platforms like Steam or App Store, and they just translate their apps. They just submit their localized apps, and the users just start to see the apps in their languages, and they give more 5 stars than if and they just download it because it supports their language. That's more or less okay if you are going to a platform that supports languages, and every platform, they have a statistics which languages are most useful, and so it's very it's easy to select to choose the languages. So everybody goes with it's called FIGS, French, Italian, German, Spanish. So it just goes with those languages, and then CCGK. So it's Chinese, 2 languages simplified and traditional, and it's Korean, Japanese. So this is the starter pack of, and you cover almost all the world. And then the Brazilian and Brazilian Portuguese.
Yeah,
those are different things.
Yes, I actually lived in Brazil for a couple of months, and it's definitely, learned a little bit of Portuguese, and it's different than.
So to decide on languages, it's easy if you go to some platform that just gives you statistics. But if you're marketing, if you're SaaS, it depends on your marketing. If you have a possibility to access the cheap marketing in Brazil, for example, then it just defines your marketing. You go to Brazil and you just translate to Brazilian Portuguese and not European Portuguese, and you don't touch Japan, for example. But if you want to go to Japan, if you have some partner there, if you want to sell just something in Japan, you must localize. And not only the language, but also the currency, because and also the payment process. It's in Japan, you might be having a visa, but it might not work everywhere, especially online. So the payment, and also. So to select the languages, that's not very difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So
it start with.
Yeah. Alexander, we're at 26 minutes, believe it or not. I have a question before this goes so fast. Before we say goodbye and tell people how to reach you. This was a super interesting conversation. This is definitely something that I didn't wrap my head around until, I dove into your business. But one of the questions that came up, and I think that people who are watching and listening to this at a later point too, are going to say, Alexander, what is the ROI of localization, right? So I'm successful in America, or I'm successful in Canada. When can I expect return on investment, or how do I measure that, or how can I quantify it if I'm looking for an investor? Again, you said you should start with 2 languages, so then it's easier. But what can people expect? Let's talk about ROI before we wrap this up.
That's a very good question. Very good question. So ROI, it depends on how much you invest into localization, of course, because if you invest several $1,000s to just translate your app, and it just performs better, then the ROI is positive. If you don't do heavy lifting in marketing, in sales, in opening the representative offices, you don't have this spend much. So sometimes, if you see the localization into different languages is maybe a growth hack, with a very quick input. If you have an app for example, pregnancy tracking, we have had that case. 5 languages, and it covered maybe 50% of the world, but suddenly they translated to more 20 languages, so 25 combined. And in several weeks, this paid off. The investment was small because to translate an app, it's very cheap. It just requires some time and very small investment. But it's not marketing. If you have marketing, if you have sales, if you have processes, if you have this heavy lifting, then you should calculate. And also, if you have some user acquisition, for example, for some games it doesn't work. They translate into Indonesian. And Indonesian people, they don't pay for games, for example. But there are lots of gamers there, lots. But they don't pay. But the advertising is very cheap. And so the unit economy is positive. But if they go with this setup to Norwegian language, it will break. The people, they're paying, okay. But the advertising is so expensive that it doesn't pay in months, in years. And if they have updates, then they invest more and more money. So it depends. But localization can be treated as a quick win, quick growth hack, because you invest several $1,000s to translate everything, and it just works because you are on Steam, on Google Play, and you just get the audience that was missed because of you didn't have those languages.
Yeah, that's great answer. So that actually is wonderful. I bet you there's going to be people sharing this to like, hey, I have a friend who has an app, growth hack. Here we go. This is definitely going to be a short. This was good. Alexander, how can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
So I invite everyone to friend me on LinkedIn, of course. I'm open there. And also come to alconost.com website. It's a landing page. And there the user journey of people who want to do localization for their apps starts there. So I invite you to the website.
Wonderful. So I'll make sure that your LinkedIn is in your LinkedIn bio, and your LinkedIn link is in the show notes. If you've stayed all the way to the end, I want to thank all of you for watching, for listening. Alexander, thank you for being here with me today. This was a very different conversation I normally have, but I loved it. I love diving into new industries, and I'm really excited we had so many live viewers with us today asking questions and being curious about global expansion. And if you didn't hear it yet, this is a growth hack, localization. Go translate your app, your e-learning into different languages, and that could really help you expand. Once again, Alex, thank you so much. And I will be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.